Alright guys, let's talk about what's happening to Roadhog in 2023, because he is going to be changed. He's going to no longer be able to one-shot, and in fact, they've actually done this before, back in the experimental of OVerWatch 1, and this is gameplay of the Nerfed Roadhog. May not be the exact same one as January, but this is specifically the exact same thing that they're talking about right now. So, basically, what it comes down to is people are complaining a lot about Roadhog. This is all over the forums. A lot of people have been complaining about Roadhog needing a nerf. It's on Reddit. It's on lots of different websites. But basically, what it comes down to is people don't like getting one-shotted, and that just happens to be a thing in Overwatch in general. But I wanted to go ahead and highlight this in a video showing off what happens to Roadhog after he does no longer be able to secure the one-shot kills. He kind of becomes, I would say, worthless if you just made it so he just lost damage, because without that, that's the identity of Roadhog. Now, what they did to compensate, they didn't say what they're going to be doing in January, but it was a call between Emong as well as someone else on the Overwatch team, and basically, they said they're no longer going to have Roadhog be able to one-shot, and in return, he's going to get something new. So whether it's a new skill or he gets to heal everyone. And what I find is so crazy with this is people are like, hey, maybe Roadhog can heal on the floor. This is 7 days ago. You know when this happened? This was years ago when this gameplay that you guys are seeing right now, it has the exact same thing that people are talking about, which is like he can AoE heal, kind of like a soldier heal. But he doesn't have the ability to one-shot. Obviously, on Tracer, yes, she has less HP. So what was the exact nerf? So the exact nerf in terms of like numerical stats, just to go over really quick for you guys, the changes on Hog was the take a breather leaves a healing cloud on the ground. I actually end up with gold healing. I out-healed both of my healers with this heal ability, which you guys will see towards the end of the game. And then on top of that, the scrap gun, that's his weapon, it instead of doing 150 damage, it does 125. So it gets really close to one-shotting, but it's still needing like, you know, maybe like 20-30-ish damage, depending on how many headshots you land. But on top of that, the chain hook was changed on the cooldown, but then the take a breather, it did heal in an AoE. That's what they did to Roadhog back in, well, how many years ago? This was 2 years ago. This was on the experimental buff. Now, obviously, those changes did not go through because Roadhog's not the most powerful if you take that away. In fact, the endgame stats, I have them here. You can see, back in the day in Overwatch, we called it the gold healing. You can see that I had the most heals in the entire game, which was kind of funny here.
I don't think it's funny.
But then I also thought about it, and I was like, okay, well, if we take this away from Roadhog, he needs something else, and this is like the first time that we're going to see Roadhog. Just recently checking out the OWL page. Obviously, I guess we're in like a down period here because they haven't been uploading anything in the most recent times. Right now, it's basically still like in the last few gameplays, it's all just pretty much Winston. There's some Zarya stuff because it was on the Elder patch too, as far as like highlights and stuff. But look at in the course of the history of the pick rate in the OWL. Look at the usage of Roadhog. It's at a 0.2% according to the Overwatch League stats over here.
That is insultingly low.
From the season 2022. So Roadhog doesn't really get to see that much play, and this is like the one time Roadhog starts seeing some play. People are like, dude, Roadhog is now one of the most dominant tanks, and they want to delete him. And a lot of people ask me what are my thoughts on this, because like I play Roadhog from time to time. The highest that I've ever gotten with Roadhog was Grandmasters. Right now, I'm on my quest to get Grandmasters on the new Doomfist as well. But as far as Roadhog and his ability to one-shot, if you take that away, he's ridiculously useless in most scenarios because he doesn't have any armor, which armor is really good in Overwatch 2. He gets hard countered by Orisa as well as Ana, but obviously with Kiriko in the game, I mean, if Hog gets put to sleep or antied, you have the potential ability to just, you know, have Kiriko just be like, okay, well, you put the Hog to sleep, just wake him right back up, he gets to heal for a bunch. But that was like the biggest change going from Overwatch 1 to 2, especially with Kiriko. I feel like she carries the game, honestly, more times in the Hog versus Hog matchup than the better Roadhog. It doesn't matter how good you are as a Roadhog. If the enemy Roadhog is getting woken up, and on top of that, like, your hook gets stopped, that Kiriko is carrying the game in most situations. Now, again, I was looking at like all the stats. It's just Winston again and again. Winston's just seeing so much play right now, and Hog definitely counters that. And even if we get a change, I think Hog would still be okay maybe in the Winston matchup, just because he has a shotgun-based character. He can kind of hold people down. This is basically the end of the gameplay. You guys can see we've got the gold damage, and that was basically the only gameplay footage that I personally have. So I'm just gonna roll some other mixed-up gameplay here. You guys will see Winston, one of the really good tanks right now in the game as well.
Really good.
But what's interesting with this is I was checking out what people are saying, is it's basically a cycle right here, because they've changed Roadhog quite a few times. Back when the game first came out, Roadhog used to actually hit for an insane amount of damage. he could right click, and then he would right click, hit a tank, then pull them in, and then he could almost one-shot a tank. You'd have to throw in a right click in there, right? But then they're like, okay, this is a problem. They even said that one-shotting was a problem in Overwatch. They even said this on the official forums. I remember this. They're saying that like Roadhog can't one-shot, but then we have characters like Hanzo and Widowmaker that can one-shot across the map. Back in the day, we had Scatter Arrow that was also like a one-shot machine. So the thing is that it's literally a cycle. Then, okay, then he got a heal where he could move, then everyone starts to complain, and then it's just a cycle with Roadhog, right? And as a Roadhog main, I actually don't really find Roadhog to be super fun anymore because I kind of burnt out of the character, but I definitely think that the character does take some skill. You have to land your hook, pull them in, then get a shot, and then melee, where you have other characters that can one-shot. If one-shotting isn't the core idea of the game, it's not the vision of the game, right, to allow people to one-shot, then why do we have other characters that are able to one-shot in the game?
Good question.
I was just checking out all the characters. I'm like, which characters can basically one-shot, right? There's honestly not that many. It's Widow, Hanzo, and we have Reinhardt. We're not going to be counting ults because I feel like ults, people kind of understand that ults basically one-shot, right? Now, other characters that can kind of one-shot, and I say kind of one-shot because a true one-shot would be like Reinhardt pinning you and you're just dead. You can't do anything about it. You're dead.
Man, I'm dead.
Right? I mean, obviously Kiriko can save you, but then I was looking at the rest of the roster and I was like, well, what other characters can basically one-shot, right? If Doomfist gets a charged up hit into you, hits you into a wall, and you get smashed, you're gone, right? Basically, I'm not gonna count like groups off the map. Roadhog, again, you have to hook them, pull them in, land the shot, then go for the melee a lot of times to secure the kill. McCree, he can throw the sticky on you, then one shot, and if you die basically in 1 second. Like the time to kill is a 1 second. Genji, he can also do lots of combos. He can dash right into you and then go right click melee. You're gone, right? Echo can land her sticky nades. You're gone. There's quite a bit of different characters that can feel like you're getting one shot. Like Sigma. If you look at Roadhog, though, he does try to kind of create a stun, whereas, like, Sigma, he stuns you where you are, and then he has to land his, like, 2 other shots, whereas Roadhog, he still needs to land those, like, hits. It's the same thing with, like, Zen. You know, you're basically getting one shot when he holds the right click, and then he goes, boom, boom. It doesn't feel good.
I don't feel so good.
But the thing is, obviously, some of these are going to be more consistent than others. Obviously, we just nerfed Genji, so he can't really do some of the combos. But then I was thinking, like, well, how about the characters that can actually avoid the one-shot or have someone else help? And I looked at the entire roster, and guess what? Everyone has some way, for the most part. I'm gonna consider this in like this isn't a tier list, obviously. This wasn't a tier list either. This is just basically just showing off the different heroes that can and cannot like deal with getting one shot, right? So these are all the characters on the top here that can actually prevent you from getting one shotted by Roadhog. Like there's so many different options. I'm not gonna dive into each one, but like literally Genji can literally dash in front and block, right? Some of these are going to be more difficult than others. Junkrat can push away the Roadhog. Obviously Reaper can fade out of when he gets hooked and he has a little bit more HP. And a lot of times you'll just get eliminated anyways, but Orisa can throw the spear, we can put sleep, you get boop, Kiriko can use her ability to make and throw a wall. Like most of the roster can prevent the one shot from happening. You can get booped by a lot of these characters too. And the other characters have mobility, right? Like Soldier has extra speed, so it's a little bit harder to hit if, you know, you wait for the hook and then you start shooting. Tracer can be really fast. Mercy can fly to another target. Hanzo can jump. Like, all these characters can avoid it. The only ones, like, technically, yeah, Zen can kind of kick away the Roadhog if you get hooked and Zen is in range. These are unrealistic, though. These ones are also like, well, you basically are dead anyways, but you technically can't be one-shot because you have armor. Specifically in Overwatch 2, armor is like a lot more valuable than in Overwatch 1, but you can't really one-shot these characters, especially if Torb activates his ability. But pretty much most of the roster can avoid being one-shotted because not only can they actually avoid it via, like, let's say, like, they just have more HP, so they can't really be one-shotted, but technically, yeah, Ryan can pin the Roadhog if that happens to be the case. A lot of these characters, they can avoid it. So is the main problem that Roadhog one-shots too fast compared to all the characters that can react? Like if someone's getting hooked, I've pushed away with Roadhog multiple times. A lot of Lucios, especially at the high level when it's Hog versus Hog, the Lucio sticks around the enemy Hog just to boop the other person away so they cannot be one-shot. So what I'm trying to kind of talk about is maybe it's not necessarily the one-shot, but it's at the speed that it actually occurs at. But I'm also curious to know, you know, what is actually going to be happening to the Roadhog over here. So I'm curious to know what you guys think should be changed, because again, more than likely what's going to happen is they're just going to take the number and then just drop it. And then what does Hog get? If he gets nothing, he's completely useless. The thing is that the Hog has nothing in his kit. He's literally just a larger DPS. Like, all he has is his body to block and take all of the damage. But if you play Orisa, you can roll Roadhog so incredibly hard. Like, there's probably someone in gold that can play Orisa, and even at my Grandmaster skills of Hog, I would have to just fold because they're just up in your face, just constantly shooting at you. And if the Ana puts you to sleep when you're trying to heal, or just throws her a grenade, you can get rolled pretty hard as well, via just other supports in the game. Or if, you know, Baptiste can throw his immortality field against whatever that you pull, and then the other tank can just go on you. Like, you basically have a window where you have to execute something, and if it doesn't go right, you instantly have a huge liability for your team, especially in the Hog versus Hog matchup. So I feel like that Hog is a character that does have a risk and there is a reward. The risk, technically, you can play a little bit worse because you have the ability to heal, but at the high levels, a lot of times what happens is if you miss your hook, the other tank is going to be doing something so big within the next like few seconds that it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to come back, unless they're playing like a ball or something that's like gonna not do anything. But for the most part, if they are playing another character that has potential, like maybe Sigma can throw a rock, he can shield, there's so many characters that do so much more for your team, where Roadhog, all he offers is, I can maybe get a hook and get a kill, I can get interrupted, I can get put to sleep, I can be an ultimate battery because I have no armor. There's a lot of problems that Hog already has, but I'm curious to know what will actually happen to Roadhog. Will he be able to get the giant AoE heal? I think that would be pretty fun.
I like to have fun.
But then a lot of people might not want to play Roadhog, and again, Roadhog is like the character that finally gets to see some play. Finally, people are like, dude, Roadhog's one of the best tanks in the game, and I would say that is definitely arguable. I put him on the higher tier list of my most recent tier list for like the tanks, just because, well, because there's not that many shields in the game, he becomes a lot better. And I understand that it's frustrating to be on the receiving end, but try out Hog yourself, and you'll realize that a lot of times it's not super easy. It's not just like, oh, you get a free limit every 6 seconds. There's so many things that can go wrong. You have to do so many things, and it's not me just trying to say, oh, don't nerf Roadhog, please, because honestly, I want Roadhog nerfed too. Bruh. Only because I honestly just want to play Doomfist, and Hog kind of counters Doomfist. I feel like there's always going to be a tank in Overwatch that people complain about, regardless of the current meta. There's always going to be one character that's kind of at the best, and it's hard to balance all the characters. So good luck to them trying to balance out Roadhog, where he still feels useful to play, while, you know, he's not going to make everyone really upset, because no one likes to be on the receiving end to a one-shot. But there's not too many characters that realistically do a one-shot in the game. A lot of times it's a lot of things lining up to allow that one shot to occur, or it may be that it is just too fast. Maybe the cooldowns can be changed, but again, they said they specifically want to change his ability to one shot, so more than likely they're going to make it so the thing just does less damage, or maybe he can hook multiple targets, but it doesn't do any damage, and on top of that, the weapon does less damage. But I don't know, that's my 2 cents on it, because a couple of you guys asked what I would like to see change. For me, I would be 100% fine if they took whatever they had in the experimental patch and literally just threw it on the game, which is like you just become a giant heal. Therefore, your teammates want to stick around you, because sometimes with Hog, I've noticed, like, I will try to go on my own flanking route so I can go around, the barriers, or go around and get that secure hook. But then while doing that, I get put to sleep, I get anti-ed, it's like everything, and they're like, Hog, stick with the team. It's like, if I stick with the team, I don't want to be shooting into barriers the whole time, or having Orisa, like, in my face, and it's just not worth it, right? Maybe it's better just to swap off if they happen to have Orisa, and the Orisa's actually doing good. But, yeah, I totally get where people are coming from. It's not fun to get one-shotted, especially if, you feel like you're in a good position. But there's also times where, like, let's say back in the day with Scatter with Hanzo, where you would get one shot and you weren't even, like, near him, right? Because he could bounce it off of doors. Same thing with, like, Widow. Like, you can be in the perfect position, but a Widowmaker can throw her grapple, like, up in the sky and then look down and shoot you. And, like, you're in the perfect position. And it's like, it's 1000% not your fault. Look at that Hanzo. Like, was I supposed to expect the Hanzo over there to deal, I don't know if I was hit by Discord, but, like, Discord Orb is also very frustrating to deal with as a Roadhog player. So, I mean, there's ways to counter him. Do I think he's so godly that he's the best tank in the game? He's definitely one of the better tanks for sure, but, like, again, you still have to land your stuff at the end of the day. So I would say I don't know how they're going to be able to fix Roadhog without giving him a shield. And this kind of stuff takes so long to make because you'd have to obviously animate the shield, you'd have to have a new ability. Like, there's so many things that you'd have to test in terms of interactions and stuff like that. So I think that it'd be very unrealistic to see a shield come out of Roadhog. But I mean, if you were to tell me Orisa would have a spear that she can throw and spin to block damage, I would have never believed it. So, you know, I have some faith in the Overwatch team that they come up with something crazy, but here's my guess. Hog just throws down the AoE heal and he does less damage. And at that point, Hog is actually going to be, I think, even more insane because it just makes it so the team fights will last a super long time. It'll also make Ana a more valuable target because everyone is just being constantly healed. So then people will still complain about Roadhog. So I think if they throw in that experimental change, which I'm kind of hoping that they figure out something crazier, I don't think that that will fix it. It'll just make it more annoying to deal with at the end of the day. So yeah, I feel like it's so hard. They're going to have to do a lot of work to actually do something. Maybe they'll give him a shield. Maybe they'll give him armor. That would be two additional options. Maybe they give him an insane mobility where he gets to, I don't know if you played League of Legends, but Gragas can like move his stomach and he can like go forward and lunge. Maybe they give him an ability like that. So the combo is then you hook someone, you shoot them, and then you hit the button, and then you throw your stomach out on them, and then it like pushes them back. I don't know. I'm just thinking of ideas where they can incorporate something interesting without losing the one shot and also just not giving the ability to heal for an insane amount. Maybe they make the heal amount super low, but then if it's super low, then people will be like, dude, you just like deleted Hog. It's just kind of the cycle of Roadhog, as you guys saw. Anyways, I feel like I'm ranting now. What do you think should be changed? Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. It really helps the channel out. And subscribe if you want to see what actually happens. And we'll see who's right in the comments below. But take care, and I'll see you in the next video. And I'm out. Peace. Rip Roadhog in January, though.